We're back. Football season starting soon. I'm going to give you my prediction on how I think every team will finish and how many wins they will receive this year. All right, so the way I'm starting this is I have the 0 to 3 wins, 4 to 7 wins, 8 to 10 wins, 11 to 14 wins, and then maybe a 15 plus. I don't think there's going to be any, but we'll see. I mean, 15 wins is really hard. I know that there's an extra season. What is it? 18 weeks now, 17 games, one bye. But we'll see. I mean, starting off, I mean, not a team that I'm super aware of or much knowledge of. I know they have Derek Carr. Michael Thomas is out, right? I believe Michael Thomas is out. Who else? So they got Chris Olave. He's gonna have a big season this year. But I mean, they're always a mid team. They always have like great defense. But I'm gonna put them in the 4 to 7 range. 4 to 7. I think they'll be on the higher end, but I don't think they're gonna have a whoa crazy season. But we'll see. Miami Dolphins, great team. Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. He'll have a big season this year. Tua. I mean, hopefully they up their O line. I'm not 100% sure. But I like them a lot. I like them to compete and obviously, take out the Chiefs. They could compete with the Bengals as well, the Ravens. I like 12, 13 wins for them. The Ravens, as I was saying, great team. Just added Derrick Henry, a big goal line presence. They'll do fine. They have the hardest division in football with the AFC North, but I like them the same in that 12, 13, 14 win range. The Bengals. This one's hard because the Bengals have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is currently looking for an extension of his contract. Joe Burrow, can he stay healthy? They lost Jesse Bates last year. They brought in Nick Scott, great replacement for safety. But I don't know. I mean, they lost Joe Mixon. They lost Tyler Boyd. They kept T. Higgins. Man, I don't know if I'm super confident in them getting like 10, 11 wins, but I'm gonna bet that they'll be in this higher 10, 11 range. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that Joe Burrow will stay healthy. Jamar Chase will get his contract. C.D. Lamb just got his, so I believe that he'll get paid as well. Justin Jefferson, obviously his teammate in LSU, got paid as well. So I'm gonna take that 11 wins. Jamar Chase is looking to have a big season, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt of that. Bo Nix and the Broncos. Who's even left on that team? They lost Jerry Judy. They still have Sutton, if I'm not mistaken. Javonte Williams looking to stay healthy this year. They're always that team that's like super strong on defense, and the offense is like whatever, right? So I like them in that 6 to 8 range as far as wins go. So, but do I like them higher or lower than 7? I think this is going to be our first 8 to 10 win game or team. I think they will get that 8 mark. But I like them at 8 more than I like them at 7. The Giants, they lost Saquon. They lost Sterling Shepard. They lost. Who else did they lose? Darren Waller retired, right? Tough division. I mean, Danny Dimes. A lot of players on the Giants team themselves are really putting Danny Jones, kind of like they put him at a higher pedestal, even though people like to beat him up in the media. But again, I like them in that 4 to 7 range. I don't think that they'll be great, but they will compete for some games. They might squeak in 5 to 6 wins. Now the Vikings. The Vikings an interesting team because they lost their first round pick in J.J. McCarthy, tore meniscus or whatever it was, out for the season. Sam Darnold stepping up into a new system after being a backup for the Niners. They have Justin Jefferson T.J. Hawkinson still hurt for at least the first 4 games. They brought in Aaron Jones, which is a big help. He's a good leader to have on the team. They still have Patrick Peterson. But, like, because the Lions and the Packers and the Bears, or the Lions and the Packers, they're going to be strong teams this year. And the Bears, they could be a sleeper team. They could be a really good team. They added a lot of offensive weapons. They're obviously good on defense. That's what they kind of pride themselves on. So I think that Vikings going to be on that 6 to 8 range. But I do like them more at 8 than I do at 6. Now my team, the Rams, we just lost today. Ernest Jones was traded to the Titans. The Titans are looking to beef it up on defense as well as they have on offense. But obviously, a lot of firepower for Matthew Stafford. Drafted Blake Corum, got him at a really good pick, at a really good time in the draft. So that 1-2 punch with Corum and Kyren, it'll be big because I think the Rams will run the ball a lot this year, even though they have a lot of offensive weapons on the receiver side. But I like them in that 11-12 range. So trying not to be biased here, but that's what I like them at. Strong division, but, I think that they will get it done, even though they're kind of lacking on defense. Lost Aaron Donald, lost Ernest Jones, like I said. I don't know if they brought back Ahkello Witherspoon, but it's kind of where we're sitting with them. Now the Bucs. I like the Bucs a lot as a team. I mean, they have a tough division as well. Baker Mayfield kind of was pretty good for them last year. Mike Evans, obviously that guy. Chris Godwin. Did they make any notable changes on offense though? They have Mike Evans, Godwin, Cade Otton, Rachaad White. I think they're going to be a mid-team, 8 to 10 range, easy lock-in for me, I think. Like I said, don't know a lot about them, but I think I like them in that middle 9, 10, 11 win range as far as wins go. Now the Lions, I'm not sure about their schedule, but obviously good offensive weapons. But obviously for the Lions, it's always about, can I score more than my opponent? Because that's kind of their motto, right? Score more than their opponent, because they're not really that good on defense. I think they were last in defense. Obviously, they choked the game against the Niners in the conference final. So, even though, with that being said, I still think the Lions are going to be a really big team. They're going to get that 11, 12, 13 win range. Okay, now the Bears. The Bears, rookie quarterback. Obviously, a lot of hype brought into him. First overall pick in the draft. Brought in Keenan Allen. DJ Moore's a monster. They brought in DeAndre Swift. A lot of offensive weapons to help out the kid. I do like them at the 8 to 10 range. I think this is an easy lock for me. The Niners, obviously, easy lock for 11 to 14. The Eagles, I think this will be surprising for a lot of people, but I don't think the Eagles will do as well as they have in the past seasons, just because they lost Jason Kelce. That tush push that everybody was afraid of, they're not going to have anymore. And even though they added Saquon Barkley, it doesn't really mean too much on those short yardages, right? Because Saquon Barkley's more of a power back. He's likes to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's not really a handoff type guy. He doesn't like to be, at least, right? You don't see him too much as like a Derrick Henry or a Gus Edwards. So I like the Eagles here at 8 to 10. I don't love them at 11 to 14. I think that they're going to get figured out this year. It's going to be really hard to keep Jalen Hurts healthy just because Jason Kelce is not there. I think people underestimate how good of a center Jason Kelce was and how much of a leader he was for that offensive line. And it just made Jalen Hurts' life a little bit easier back there. And I don't know if somebody's going to be able to step up and help him out back there. Don't get me wrong, they still have a lot of offensive line members that are still really, really good. Really, really strong, really, really healthy. Lane Johnson, that one other dude, I don't know how to pronounce his name. But, like I said, losing Jason Kelce is just too much. It's too, it's big. He was pivotal for that team. Going, especially in the postseason. You could tell how devastated he was to lose against the Bucks last season. Anyway, moving on to the Raiders. The Raiders and Aiden O'Connell. They lost Josh Jacobs. Their RB1 is Zamir White. They have Devontae Adams. They got Brock Bowers in the first round. That was their first pick. Good tight end, but that's not what they needed at the moment. I think they really do need to solidify a good quarterback to take them to the promised land or even be a leader for them. I think Antonio Pierce is a great coach, but this is too much for him. This is a big ask. So I think I like them in that 4, 5, 6 range. It won't be an awful season, but it won't be a great season. I think that a lot of Raiders fans with a rookie quarterback will be okay with this. I mean, obviously, there's always high expectations from them, right, to be the old Raiders of the 80s. But for me, it's just not going to happen. I think they'll be surprising. They'll be teams that are, kind of good, but, they're not going to... Their defense isn't enough to beat a lot of their divisional opponents. Their offense is enough to beat most teams. So yeah, I like them in that 4 to 7 range, and probably in the higher, 5, 6, or 6 or 7 ish, maybe even 8. But I like them more here than I do up there. The Packers, I think the Packers minimum is 10 wins. I think they're quick, they're fast, they play physical. They don't really have a leader because they lost Aaron Jones, and you could tell Aaron Jones was such a big part of who they were he kind of defined what it was to be a Packer. And now that he's gone, it hurts them. It hurts them a lot. But you have defensive members that have a lot of good leadership skills as well. So I like them minimum. Oh, what the hell! I like them minimum 10 wins, but I like them. I have them higher, so I do think that they'll get to at least 12. Minimum 10, max 13. The Commanders. A lot of people have bought in really highly on this Jaden Daniels kid. Don't know much about him. He's shifty. He's fast. He can get out of the pocket. They added Bobby Wagner. They added Austin Eckler. They've added some good pieces, but they also lost Jahan Dotson. A big loss there. I mean, I don't have much hope for this team, so I like them 4, 5, 6 wins. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray's back. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. Trey McBride is really popping off. He came out of his shell and really solidified himself as a top tight end. Obviously, you have the Rams and the Niners in their division, the Seahawks. So I still think they're going to be a relatively mid team. 8 to 10 is pretty easy for me. The Steelers. Everybody has questions about their quarterback, their wide receivers, their backfield. Obviously, they're built defense first. I like them at 6 to 8 wins. But I think I am going to go on the lower end just because we're not too sure about where Russell Wilson is. And at this point in his career, I mean, what is he offering? Obviously, he's a great verbal leader, but a lot of people don't buy into what he's selling anymore. A lot of people are like, well, we've heard this before. We've heard that before. You're saying this, but you're doing this. So, yeah, I think that he's that guy that talks the talk but doesn't walk the walk. The Buffalo Bills, they lost Stephon Diggs. Dalton Kincaid is stepping up. Khalil Shakir. They drafted Keon Coleman. They have Deion Dawkins still. Strong team. Josh Allen's still that dude. A part of me wants to put him in 8 to 10, but I feel like that'd be doing them a disservice because of how good of a team they still do have, despite losing Stephon Diggs. So I'm leaning towards 11, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got 10. So the Falcons, they paid Kirk Cousins a lot off of his ACL injury, or Achilles injury, I'm sorry. Obviously, they got a new head coach, and Raheem Morris, the Rams' ex-defensive coordinator. Everybody on the Rams roster was saying, like, hey, when is Raheem going to get his shot? He deserves a shot to be a head coach. Hopefully, they unlock Bijan Robinson. We see a lot more of him. Can he stay healthy? We're going to see a lot, hopefully, of Drake London. How will Drake London adopt that number one wide receiver role? Kyle Pitts, hopefully he gets some work in, some really good reps. But I still think they're going to be a mid-team. They're going to be that 8 to 10 easy lock. The Seahawks, Geno Smith, Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf. I think that DK Metcalf will actually have a really good year this year. I think that the Seahawks have slowly been rebuilding this sort of team while keeping a core defense. They lose Bobby Wagner. They obviously have Jackson Smith and Jigba. Tyler Lockett, you can tell that he's just at that age where he's kind of over getting hit. He catches the ball and he'll just like slide. He's like, I'm not trying to get hit no more. He just wants to be healthy, right? So I think again that Seahawks is that 8 to 10 type win team. Now the Patriots, gone are the days of Tom Brady. Gone are the days of Randy Moss. Gone are the days of Rob Gronkowski. And they have Drake May. Drake May actually looks like a really good quarterback, but I do think that they're not gonna have a great season. I'm sorry, all Patriots fans, but they're not gonna have a great season. They're gonna get like maybe 3 wins, maybe 4, maybe I think maximum 4 wins. I do not think they'll be a great team this year. They just lost too much. They didn't really have a plan going forward in terms of offensively, especially, after having Mac Jones. I still do think that they did Mac Jones dirty, but I mean, he didn't really have nobody to help him. They obviously signed Juju Smith-Schuster, who obviously was out of his prime, wasn't that guy anymore. So they kind of set themselves up for failure. They did sign. Oh no, they lost Matthew Judon, so that hurts a lot too. The Browns. This one's hard because the Browns have a good team on paper, but they don't get the job done. I know that they have it really hard because they play in Cleveland and they have that windy ass stadium, and they have a lot of missed field goals and a lot of missed extra points and a lot of fucked up punts and a lot of fucked up this and a lot of fucked up that. And then Deshaun Watson, can he stay healthy? Deshaun Watson hasn't had a full season in 4 or 5 years. So I find it really hard to put them really high. Even though I do like their team on paper, I don't think that they're going to have, like, part of me wants to put them in 12 wins, but a part of me is like, hey man, realistically, they're probably going to be like that 9-10 win team. Now the Texans are a team that are fucking scary. Super scary team. They just released Noah Brown. They signed Stephon Diggs. Nico Collins is locked in for a long-term contract. Tank Dell, obviously a speedster. So they have Dalton Schultz, obviously from the Cowboys. Really good tight end. They're a team as well that on paper really, really good, but they're that team that actually does walk the walk. They obviously signed Joe Mixon as well. They just have a strong team, man. They also have that swagger that D'Amico Ryan's like, hey man, we're gonna punch you in the face, and if you get up, we're gonna kick you back down. So I like them at that 12, 13, 14 wins. The Chiefs, they just re-signed Creed Humphrey to a long-term deal. Travis Kelce's getting older, but he's still really, really good. Xavier Worthy, they drafted for the 28th pick. Rashee Rice, I believe, is suspended for the first 4 games. Isaiah Pacheco, still a good running back. I mean, their team overall is not great, but they still do have a really core, those leaders, core leaders of the team, right? Patrick Mahomes, Creed Humphrey, Charvarius Ward, I think, still plays for them. Harrison Buckner. They still have a really strong core players that have been there for such a long time. Even though they're not like fantastic players, they're still pretty solid players, right? They're not like a flashy team. They don't have flashy receivers. They don't have flashy running backs. They have a flashy quarterback and a flashy tight end, and that's about it. So, man, obviously reigning champs back to back. You don't go back to back just by chance, right? They're obviously a good team. So I'm gonna put them like, I like them more wins than the Ravens and the Lions. Well, brother. So I like them more wins than the Rams. I like them more wins than the Dolphins. I'm gonna put the Bengals in the back. The Niners. I think the Niners will do better than the Rams and the Lions. The Packers will do worse than the Ravens, and that's kind of how I like this to play out. Well, I think I'll feel more about this. The Texans, I think, will be the best team in the NFL this year. The Chiefs will still do well. They'll still do better than most teams, but they won't be the best team. I mean, they still will probably make a deep playoff run just because of how good their coaching staff is and how well the players know and understand the system, and they really do buy into what Andy Reid is selling. Obviously, right? Consistency is kind of what breeds that, like, hey man, we can do this, we're gonna win because we have there's such a long sample size, a big sample size of how successful they have been just doing what they have been doing. The Cowboys, obviously super shambolic, didn't make any really real acquisitions this offseason. Still a strong team. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. I think they still have Trey Ferguson. Good defense, Michael Parsons. They obviously haven't. They also have an easy schedule. So I will say that they will probably get more wins than the Bengals, but not more wins than the Packers. And I hate doing this one. I hate doing this one because I like Justin Herbert so much. I think the kid is so talented. But he lost all his receivers, man. They got rid of Keenan Allen. They got rid of Mike Williams, even though Mike Williams obviously tore his ACL, so that's understandable. He obviously had a big contract as well. They got rid of J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel maybe as well. They obviously made a lot of bad business decisions in these past couple seasons that really hurt them a lot. So, but man, their skill players are just not great. They're just like nobody notable. Justin Herbert, I mean, he still has Joe Alt to protect him, but it's really not a lot. Like, he really doesn't have as much help as he really needs to compete at a high level. So I do think that they're going to be one of those teams that, get like 5, 6, 7. I think they'll be 7 to 8 wins. The Jets, man, last year I was super high on the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he got hurt in his first 5 snaps. Coming back, hopefully healthy. It's really hard to tell because he is older. He's up there in age, but he did have a long time to recover. Obviously, a whole basically calendar year to recover that Achilles injury. Garrett Wilson, hopefully, Aaron Rodgers unlocks the power of that kid. They signed Javon Hargrave, right? I think they signed Javon Hargrave or Aziz Al-Shire. So I like them. I like them up here as well. I like them at that. Probably more wins than the Bills. The Carolina Panthers. They got Deontay Johnson, Bryce Young, obviously. They signed Tajay Spears, maybe. Not 100% sure. Adam Thielen. But I still think they're not going to have a great season. I think they'll be that 3 to 4 win team. The Titans are interesting for me. Will Levis is going to have a big impact this year. They obviously got him some weapons with Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins. They signed Tony Pollard, which will help a lot. They lost Derrick Henry, of course. Man, that's a tough one. The Titans, they look great on paper. They just they just traded for Ernest Jones. They got a couple other defensive players that were really really good. But just because they have paid so many players, I don't think they'll yield the return on their investment this quick. So for this year, I do think they'll get that like 5, 6. I think they'll be a 7, 8 win team, but I do think that they won't have that great of a season. A typical Tennessee Titan season, Now the Colts. The Colts got Anthony Richardson back off that AC joint, right? They still have Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. Is it Joshua Downs? A good defense. This one's always a hard team for me because obviously they pride themselves on defensive prowess, on their defensive prowess. Their offense is not strong. Anthony Richardson's obviously a monster. But we don't have a huge sample size on the kid, even though he has shown a lot of grit, something really good about him, right? We've seen flashes, but like I said, we don't have a big sample size. I like them in that 7, 8 win range, but I like them more at 7 than I do at 8. I hate this one too, man. I like the Jacksonville Jaguars a lot. I like their head coach. What's that dude's name? Doug Peterson. I like Doug Peterson a lot. I think that he really molded Trevor Lawrence into a new player. He looked a lot different under Nick Saban, I think. Nick Saban obviously wasn't ready for... No, it was Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer obviously wasn't ready for the big leagues. He kind of came to the NFL, got super complacent, it looked like. But like I said, he really unlocked the true form of who Trevor Lawrence is and made him look really good. Obviously, last year they had Calvin Ridley and guys like Travis Etienne. And they lose Ridley to the Titans. They gain Brian Thomas Jr. Not too familiar with him, but I know that a lot of analysts have spoke highly on the kid. So, we have to take their word for it because obviously they know more than I do. But I do think they're gonna be that 9-win team. They're gonna have a relatively good season, but nothing too crazy. But this is my NFL predictions for the 2024-2025 season. If you guys disagree with me about anything, leave a comment down below. Leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.